And I'm going to ask you another thing. This is another thing that I kind of reflected on what you said. You're familiar with the term OKRs, right? Objectives and key results. I don't like that terminology. I never got warm with it, and I'll tell you why. I prefer the statement outputs, outcomes, and impacts. And I'll tell you why I have my problem with OKRs. Although they're not bad, and it kind of reflects on what you said now. You kind of were talking about the top has to define what they want and why they want it. And then you kind of snuck it in there, but this is what I heard, and this is what I also feel from our experience, is that the next level also has to, from a different perspective, ask what is it they want on our level, right, and why we want it. And the bottom level has to ask that question. That's and that was my big issue with OKRs is, I always say OKRs for whom? For the operational level, for the tactical level, or for the strategic, because they're not the same. Yeah. They're overlapping sometimes, but they're not the same. Is that your take on it as well?
Look, I was working. Tomorrow I'll be with a company here. You know them well.
Yeah, great company.
And the whole point is that they purchased the company, and this second company needs to align their strategy with the first one. And the whole point is, what does this alignment mean, right? Does it simply mean, tell me what you want, what you really, really want, and I'll get along and do it? Yeah. No, of course not. It means I need to have my strategy in order to be worthwhile your including me in your environment. So this idea of a strategic definition, it goes all the way down. This is exactly what I mean with that human development. Most of our project managers, for example, they know how to get from A to B, and they know how to deal with a crisis. They're really good at it. And if you throw the worst crap at them, they'll deal with it. But they don't know why they need to be at B. So if things change, they'll still be going to B, because they don't know that actually they should go to B1 or to B3. Yeah. Instead, what we need is AI supporting project managers doing the reporting, the sending the reports, sending the meeting minutes, evaluating stakeholders, etc., etc. But the project manager should observe the options that emerge from this analysis and be able to choose, oops, we need to go to B3 instead of B1. But they need to have the education to make these strategic decisions. And currently, we're not there yet, no matter how much PMBOK talks about value.
Let me throw another thing. I know another thing that you're a specialist on, and you've done. I've heard you speak on it eloquently and very engagingly, is the concept of system thinking, right? Oh, yeah. I want to make a small excursion in that, because I told you I was listening in the car when I was on the way to the dentist today. I was listening to a audio book, and it was talking about system thinking, and it was great. A little bit lofty sometimes, but really, really great. And one of the things that I picked up in the conversation, which kind of stuck with me, and I don't have the correct terminology, but I think it was something in the direction of self-direction. It was basically talking about how systems often use processes and cultural elements to determine the way of working. And we said the human system, yeah. And what it talked about is this. I don't think it was the word self-direction, but I think you know what I mean with self-direction. This autonomous. You don't have to tell me what to do. I'll take care of it.
So systems tend to have, especially complex systems, and systems that are able to, we call them complex adaptive systems. Systems they tend to have something that we call emergent properties.
Yeah.
Now,
it was under that, yeah.
Okay. So in human systems, these emergent properties often end up being decisions that are taken collectively, even though there isn't a specific human who is driving that decision. Yeah. And this might be...
It went a step further, and this is what I want to get back to, this 3 different layers, which I think is a good guideline to come back to the original question, how do we prepare a company for AI, is to understand that you have to satisfy these 3 levels, and there needs to be engagement between the 3. And what I think the strategic level is always irritated with is, why are you on the functional level asking me all sorts of questions? Just do it. Right? I think that every layer is hoping for the other layer to develop that self-direction, that autonomy, where if the process doesn't answer your question, Max will take care of it, right? That kind of that magic, I don't know why it works, but it works. And this is something I say that I think a lot of companies bank on the fact that a lot of companies are really good because their employees take care of the crappy processes or the lack of processes that they have.
They find the workarounds.
Yeah. Now, in this audiobook, it talks about how that scientists for a long time thought that was such a complex process that it couldn't be determined what the process of developing that autonomy is, or it couldn't be measured. But I suppose that there's new insights on this. Let's bring it back onto the AI subject. If we're looking at the strategic, functional, and operational level, isn't the goal ultimately in upskilling, right, that we create 3 different layers or maybe even more within the organization that has a clear understanding of what their OKRs are, right? What are their objectives on their level and their key results? What is it for the level above? What's at the level below so they can translate and interact with one another? Shouldn't the goal kind of be, especially since we're kind of at the dawn of AI hype, right? That a lot of companies would really do good for themselves if yes, there's a top down and there's a bottom up, but maybe there's a middle every which way. That there was a little bit of autonomy. People felt that we kind of use this budding frontier to kind of have fun. Maybe not make it the Wild West, but that every layer of the organization is carrying part of the. You know where I'm going with this?
I'm not sure.
I think a lot of people say, well, if we've got a new transformation, we got to wait till we're totally organized. And I don't think that's realistic. I think this has to grow organically.
Sure. Yeah. There's no such total organized. Yeah. I mean, we don't even know
how to get there. That's a 10-year plan.
Where we want to be.
That's a 10-year plan. Yeah. But if we're talking about, okay, so we've got a 10-year plan on how to get where we want to go. Let's talk about the first 2 years. I mean,
so you're splitting it down in the different layers, and that makes sense, right? But it's not the full